Welcome and congratulations on your new Timney trigger. My name is Alex. I'm here to help guide you through the installation process of the Ultimate Builder's Kit for Glock Gen5, as well as give a few tech tips when needed to make the installation process seamless. Without further ado, let's get into it. Before we begin, the Ultimate Builder's Kit is going to come with a replacement connector, striker spring, a flag wrench for the Allen key, the sear, trigger bar, assembly, and 2 return springs. The red return spring is going to give you a little bit more positive reset. The silver spring is going to give you the lightest pull weight. Either one can be installed with all factory Glock components. To get started, we'll go ahead and make sure that the firearm is empty, chamber is empty, no magazine. Go ahead and remove the slide. We'll start with removing this front pin. Captures the slide release, slide block, and trigger assembly. This pin may be a little bit hard. Push it through. Remove the rear pin. With the trigger assembly, going to remove it from the trigger housing, rotate it up and away. It should come out. This, on the Gen5s, this portion here will need to be pressed from the back side of it using a small punch or flathead screwdriver. When pushed toward the front, it'll come through, and you want to be ready to push this up to the top position for it to be removed from the trigger housing. And that will come out. With the return spring removed, we can go ahead and start to insert our sear, backing off the button head screw about halfway, just to give a little bit of clearance for the C washer. Want to make sure the sear is in the back. There's a little space here where we will insert the C washer. Take your 1/16 flag wrench, tighten that down, pushing on the top of the sear. Makes it a nice snug fit. You want the trigger housing to be just below flush of the trigger housing. Now we'll remove the factory connector, replace it with the Timney. Want to make sure that you're pushing it from the bottom. Try not to bend the top of the connector over too far. Fully seating it. With your trigger bar, trigger shoe assembly, there is a small hole underneath that the leg of the return spring will slide in and then rotate up, holding it in place. It will capture it here. We're going to use a red return spring, like a little bit more positive reset. And this can be inserted into the frame. With the trigger bar and sear assembly in the frame, we're going to take the slide catch, insert it around the trigger into position, and then with your locking block, you want to make sure that this return spring is facing rearward toward the trigger or toward the magazine. Slide that in. With the locking block in, we want to align this hole, make sure that your slide release, trigger, shoe matches, so that way we can install this pin. It may need to be rotated a little bit, maybe move some components around to be able to push it all the way through. We'll take our rear trigger housing pin, reinsert that. And you want to make sure that this pin is pretty centered on both sides of the frame. Now that we're done with the frame, we're going to grab the slide and install these components. You want to remove your guide rod springs and barrel. And using a punch or flathead screwdriver, we're going to push down on this firing pin collar to remove our back plate. I like to cover that with your thumb, just so that way no springs go flying. To replace the firing pin and firing pin spring, I'm going to remove this and actually rotate it, flip it around, and reinsert it into the slide, and that kind of catches it, holds everything in place. Now we can pull this spring down and take the locking cups out. Be sure not to lose these. You will need them for reinstallation. The new firing pin can be reinstalled in the sleeve. And then the firing pin striker spring. I'm going to put this back into the slide, capture everything in place with these cups. Want to make sure that they're aligned, sitting next to each other for the full striker assembly. With the striker assembly complete, we can reinsert this into the slide and take our small punch or flat screwdriver and get this started by pushing that collar back down. And then your extractor plunger. That'll lock in place. Reinsert the barrel and guide rod spring. Now with the slide complete, we'll take our frame and double check, make sure that when the trigger is pulled, it is depressing the sear down. Moving the connector over, pops back up and releases, moves forward. We'll go ahead and reinstall the slide to the frame. Do a safety and function check. Resetting and firing. And that's it. We hope this helped you with the installation process of the Ultimate Builder's Kit for Glock Gen 5. If you have any remaining questions, our world-class customer service agents are more than happy to help. Just give us a call, 623-223-1111, or head over to our website and click the yellow Contact Us button on the right-hand side. If not, congratulations on installing your Tibney trigger. You can now go shoot with ease knowing you've got the world's finest trigger in your hands.